Hey guys, it's Rob here. Today, I'm going to be covering the history of Showbiz Pizza Place and Chuck E. Cheese in Visalia, California, as part of my mini-series within the history videos called The Last Three Stages, in which I'm going to be covering every remaining three-stage location. Currently, as I make this video, there are only 5 of them left, with Visalia, California being one of them. This location's three-stage also has some other interesting aspects that we'll be covering today as well. Thanks to Wayfinder underscore Trico or Wolfie Entertainment for the request. As usual, I've gathered information from multiple different sources, which I will be linking in the description. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, as in the next Chuck E. Cheese video, we'll be moving on to the final episode of the last three stages, and covering the history of Showbiz Pizza Place and Chuck E. Cheese in Billings, Montana. Anyways, let's get into the history of Showbiz Pizza Place and Chuck E. Cheese in Visalia, California. As usual, I'll only be covering the basic information of the city. One of the first inhabitants of the area was a man named Nathaniel Vise, who correctly predicted that the area would become the county seat of Tulare County in California, which the area did in 1853, and Visalia saw early growth throughout the gold rush along the Kern River. The area was named after Vise's home, Visalia, Kentucky, which dissolved in 2006. As of the 2020 census, the population of the city is 141,384, making it the 42nd largest city in California. The 4345 W Noble Avenue location opened on May 2nd, 1983 as a Showbiz Pizza Place. We actually have an article from right around the time it opened telling us some details about the location upon opening. They had 80 arcade games to play, as well as the sports room with a large screen TV, and a patio where tabletop arcade games were located. I didn't know Showbiz Pizza Place locations actually had those, so that's interesting to hear about. Apparently, this location employed 75 full-time and part-time employees, which to me sounds insane for a single location. Apparently, this store was the 172nd Showbiz location, which just shows how quickly the company was growing back then. It was also the 29th franchise in the chain, which is interesting. Franchisee of this location, Jacobson O'Leary Development Co., also owned the Bakersfield, California Showbiz. Apparently, Showbiz locations closed at 11 p.m. on weekdays, except for Friday, and at midnight on Fridays and Saturdays? That's surprising considering how Chuck E. Cheese locations nowadays close at 9 p.m. on weekdays, except for Friday, and 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. We can also see a photo in the article of what seems to be the opening, with the older Billy Bob walk-around costume in Visalia's Rock-afire explosion from this time. We also get to see another interior photo from this location showing a clearer image of the location's Rock-afire explosion. We don't know for sure what the location looked like back then, so I'm gonna assume their interior layout was the same. Unfortunately, we don't have any photos of this location's exterior as a showbiz, which is unfortunate because this location has a unique exterior compared to other locations. We do know that this location received the 1988 remodel by July of 1990, which we'll get into in a bit. For once, I'm not going to start discussing the 90s info about this location with Concept Unification, as there's actually a video around this time showing off the location in July of 1990. We see a lot of the store in this video, including the ball pit, the games, the colored checkers on the wall, and also a few kiddie rides. We also see Chuck E. Cheese posters were hung up in this location during this time, most likely from the 1988 remodel. In terms of the stage, we get to see the Rock-afire explosion again, moving around very well. The Showbiz Pizza Campground upgrade can also be seen in this video, showing that the location had received it by this point. A Chuck E. Cheese walk-around is also shown here, which was usual at the time since the two brands had merged several years prior. Beginning in 1989, due to a disagreement between Aaron Fechter and Showbiz Pizza Time Inc., concept unification occurred, in which every Showbiz Pizza place would convert their Rock-afire Explosion band into Munch's Make Believe band. Visalia would be one of the vast majority of stages to undergo this change, receiving it in 1991. This location also received another remodel in the mid to late 90s, the 90s major remodel specifically, as it removed the neon signage, blue and white awnings, and the checkers around the store, as well as most likely changing the exterior to Chuck E. Cheese's, or maybe Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza. Probably the former. There's actually a video from 1999 showing off the three-stage, though it's not confirmed that this video is from Visalia, though it looks like the location. If it is Visalia, their three-stage isn't moving too great here. We also get to see some of the 90s props, as well as the Chucky walk-around at the time. Chuck's Chuck with a similar head mold you see on Avenger Chuck walk-arounds. We also see a Jasper walk-around here too, which is cool. Again though, this isn't confirmed to be Visalia, though considering the current manager of the store was apparently the provider of the video, it makes it more likely that it was from Visalia. Most of the characters got plastic masks by 2004, which can be seen by a video from between summer and fall of 2004. Jasper still has his latex mask from around this point, though. We don't get to see Chuck's head in this video, but he most certainly had gotten his plastic mask at this point, as not only had most other characters received them, but Chuck was usually the first one to receive a plastic mask. Chuck had also gotten rid of the tuxedo and derby and received cool Chuck attire, and also received 3-stage Jasper's shoes for some reason. The animatronics also moved around well during this time, which is nice to see. It seems stage rights curtains were open for the entirety of the recording, and I'm unsure as to why this is, since the curtains weren't turned off until 2005. It seems all prop characters were still around during this time as well, which is cool to see. We also get to see the Chuck walk around for this location during this time, the classic Avenger Chuck walk around. In 2006, this location received the 2005 update to the 2003 Chuck reconfiguration, better known as Phase 4, which removed all of the 1990s art, the balcony seating, showroom walls, and adding purple walls. The prop characters were also removed around this time in the late 2000s. We also get to see a video from late 2009 that shows off a performance from the animatronics, and boy did they go downhill. Their movements are fine, but Munch's head fur at this point became loose and covered the body fur. Helen and Squally were also having issues with their heads being stuck looking up at this time. They still had their curtains around this time, though. We also see Jasper's latex mask had been removed at this point as well. Chuck's cap was removed in September of 2013, but we have some footage of the year prior, 2012, showing off the 3-stage yet again. They're moving better here, which is good, and Munch's loose head fur has been fixed as well as the other issues from 2009. We do have another video from 2013 showing them off yet again, and it is surprising how downhill they went in that time, with the show having quite a few movements that were out completely. We also see that the Rockstar Chug Walk around was already being used at this location. Visalia also got the 2010 update in 2014, which really only added new carpet and red booths. Since then, not much has changed about the location. The Skytubes seemed to be at this location until around 2020, when a certain pandemic forced their removal. Otherwise, things have remained the same. Chuck still has his cool Chuck attire on, as well as the 3-stage Jasper shoes. Jasper also still has Beach Bear's guitar, which may mean that prop has been used at that location since its opening, which would have been around 40 years ago. I know the animatronics have also been there for around 40 years, but the fact that that prop has been there for 40 years is also impressive. As of September 2023, this location still has a 2010 update to Phase 4 and still has their 3-stage, which is the last one in the state of California and one of 5 remaining 3-stages in a Chuck E. Cheese location. As for the condition of the 3-stage animatronics nowadays, they're not doing so well. At all. In fact, the latest video showing them off from a few days ago, when I'm writing this, shows them not moving at all, which seems to be because their air compressor blew rather than them just being in that bad of a condition. They're not sure when they're going to fix it either, and considering this location will be receiving 2.0 eventually, it's possible it may never be fixed. In fact, the last video I could find of them working was from February of 2023, which was 6 months ago. Based off of this video, though, they're in very poor condition, with barely any of the movements working. It's sad seeing a 3-stage in this condition, honestly, since it's one of 5 remaining. This location was originally slated to receive 2.0 last month, but that ended up getting pushed to this October and then January of 2024. It's not confirmed, of course, but chances are that this location isn't getting 2.0 for a while. Not until January, at least. I didn't see anything that said that the store was ever bought out by corporate, so if it isn't, I think it would be interesting to see these guys be given to private collectors and fixed up. Of course, even if their Chuck E. Cheese cosmetics are stripped, I doubt a franchisee has that much power over what happens to them. Hopefully, these guys can get worked on more and work better than they are now before the location receives 2.0, and maybe even saved, even though that's unlikely with how hard corporate is making it to ever get a hold of these guys. With the retro store concept of keeping the stage now being confirmed, this location could receive that same treatment once they receive 2.0. But honestly, this would be the last 3-stage I want to receive that treatment due to how poor the condition is. If any remaining 3-stage location gets the retro store remodel, my candidate is Pineville's. Overall, although Visalia's location is cool for still having a 3-stage, it's very unfortunate that the animatronics are in the condition they're in. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This location actually had quite a bit of info to discuss, much like Pineville and Altoona did, which is always nice. My next Chuck E. Cheese video will be the last episode in the last 3-stages mini-series, covering the history of Showbiz Pizza Place and Chuck E. Cheese in Billings, Montana, which only ever had one location, but one with some interesting info. Thanks to Rappel28110, or Rappel, for requesting this location. If you're interested in seeing that, make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you're notified when that video comes out. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.